When you eat a heavy meal, your body releases bile to handle the dietary fat. Most people assume that is the end of the story, that bile acts like a biological detergent, single-handedly breaking down the grease so your body can absorb it. But if you drop oil into water, it stays stubbornly separate. Bile faces the exact same problem. Bile is absolutely essential, but treating it as a standalone solution leaves the digestive equation incomplete. It is a physical tool attempting to finish a chemical job. The actual chemical breakdown requires a highly specific enzyme produced primarily by your pancreas, lipase. Lipase is a specialized digestive protein that targets and dismantles complex fat molecules. These two biological components are strictly codependent. Neither bile nor lipase can properly process dietary fats on their own. If you have bile without lipase, you end up with tiny fat droplets that your intestinal lining still cannot absorb. If you have lipase without bile, the enzyme simply lacks the physical surface area to access the fat and do its job. Anyone experiencing discomfort after eating dietary fats needs to look past bile in isolation. Achieving actual comfort requires addressing the complete mechanical and chemical synergy of the digestive tract. Dietary fat enters your small intestine as large, unmanageable globules. Your body physically cannot process them in this state. The first step on this biological assembly line is emulsification. Bile salts attack the large fat structures, forcing them to fracture into dozens of tiny, separate droplets. This drastically increases the total surface area of the fat. But emulsification has a strict limit. These tiny droplets are still made of complex triglycerides, the main molecular constituent of body fat and dietary oil, and they will bounce right off the human intestinal lining because they are simply too large to pass through. This is where the second step, cleavage, begins. Lipase enzymes deploy and lock onto the newly exposed surface area of those emulsified droplets. The lipase enzymes physically snap the complex structures into free fatty acids and glycerol. Glycerol is a simple, naturally occurring liquid molecule that forms the backbone of many lipids. Once broken into these basic forms, the nutrients successfully slide through the intestinal barrier and into your bloodstream. True fat digestion is a sequential two-step operation. Physical reduction by bile must occur first, enabling the specific chemical extraction that only lipase performs. Navigating this assembly line means surviving a hostile engineering environment. The human digestive tract is characterized by extreme, fluctuating pH levels. Standard animal-derived digestive enzymes are highly vulnerable here. When they pass through the intense acidity of the human stomach, they face extremely high failure and destruction rates. To bypass this environmental roadblock, scientists utilize microbial-derived lipase. This is an enzyme extracted from highly resilient fungal sources rather than animals. This chart shows the survival range of two different enzyme types across various acidity levels. You can see a narrow survival zone for animal-derived lipase, stacked against a vastly wider, extended survival zone for the microbial-derived version. The microbial enzyme remains chemically active through the stomach's intense acid and well into the varying environments of the small intestine. Formulating a functional digestive aid is an engineering challenge. The active ingredients must be stabilized to survive the journey through the stomach and reach the small intestine intact. Modern nutritional science takes these complex two-part biological requirements and translates them into stable physical formulations. Developers like Medisyn Labs build entire systems designed for complete fat digestion. Their foundational approach addresses the root mechanics of the digestive tract, rather than attempting to isolate and mask individual symptoms. To mirror human physiology, they combine botanical bile-supporting ingredients with the highly resilient microbial-derived lipase. The botanical elements perform the emulsification, setting the stage for the fungal enzymes to execute the cleavage. The physical culmination of this biological mapping is the Gallavance bile support system. It houses both halves of the fat digestion equation in a single delivery method. Effective supplementation relies on verifiable mechanisms. It requires using ingredients that respect and directly support the body's natural assembly line. Because of how this chemistry works, there is a strict biological timing rule. Supplemental lipase is only effective when taken alongside meals that actually contain dietary fat. Taking it on an empty stomach wastes the enzyme. The necessary dosage scales with the fat content of your meal and your individual digestive capacity. This enzyme activity is measured in specific units called LU or FIP. LU stands for lipase units, a standard clinical measurement of how much fat the enzyme can break down per minute. As a mandatory safety protocol, you should always consult a healthcare provider before starting enzyme supplementation, particularly if you are currently taking prescription medications or if you have had your gallbladder removed. The chemistry of digestion involves extreme pH shifts, mechanical emulsification, and targeted molecular cleavage. But achieving digestive comfort simply comes down to supporting the verified natural synergy between your bile and your enzymes. Note that these statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration, and this product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.